All right. So what is search? Why is it the secret to success, right? So a lot of folks start with the thought that if I just get my products up on a website and I have a shopping cart and they can buy things, that's the end. Well, the truth is in B2B, the number of SKUs, the amount of information contained on these websites is really large. And that's been a theme of the webinars that we've been hosting. And I encourage you to go take a look at the website and see a little bit of previous talks about data in particular. But when you've got that much data, when you've got information, and particularly in business-to-business transactions, whether you're a manufacturer, a distributor, what really happens is it gets hard to find things, and that will frustrate your customers. So let me just share some quick facts, right? So if someone is coming to your website and they are searching directly, they're skipping browsing, they're going right into search, they are much more likely to convert, right? They have a specific thing they're looking for. And that means that at that point in the marketing funnel, they're at the buy portion, right? So they're 7 to 10 times more likely to convert. A lot of times, and it's important, right? People come to your website to research products, to be able to look at options and alternatives and get information. And certainly your e-commerce websites are there for that. But when they actually come and begin to search, that means they're ready to buy. And although they may only make up on average 25% of the users on your site at a time, and browsers are 75% on average, the truth is that search folks are making up to 80% of your online revenue when they're searching. So that's a big deal. Now, here's the problem. The problem fact is that when you have poor parameters, poor data, and poor information, 10 to 25% of all searches end on a no results page. No results means no buying. It means frustration, and it means that nothing is going to happen. So what is search, right? Let's just get a grounding on what is it and how does it work, right? So search is more than just the bar at the top. What it really is a set of, it can be a set of AI at the very top end. It can be a set of categories set usually on the left-hand side. It can essentially be your search engine of your sites. And most of us don't have Google or Amazon running our sites. So this is where it's important to really bring your insight into the behavior of your customers. This is one way you can really optimize search, is because you need to understand your customers. What do they normally search for? And how do they enter things into your search bar? That can really transform the experience for your customers. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. But let's talk about who's who, right? So I do both B2B and B2C. So let's take a look at who's your typical browser. Well, they're often motivated by sale or some sort of incentive, right? And they're looking to just browse, usually for a deal, right? Now, in a business-to-business transaction, that can also be quarterly driven. It can be, in this case, during COVID, right? It can be for particular supplies. It can be a just-in-time order, but they're generally, here's the real thing. They're making comparisons. And the whole point is that they're looking. And this is where often, right, they're searching by categories. And that's why I've got categories highlighted on the upper left, because they're going to go look at, we have a customer that sells cell phone accessories to stores nationwide to sell to consumers. Well, they might be looking for a particular set of cases or a deal that you're preparing to sell. Now, before I leave this sell season, right? What are we entering? Well, there's a lot of liquidity in the market, and there's a lot of pent-up demand as people in the United States are coming out of COVID. So as a manufacturer or distributor, how will you respond to incoming orders, because it's getting to be holiday season? And I suspect every retailer is already ramping that forward cautiously. We really don't know what this is going to look like. And so I'm going to make a prediction, which is always difficult, but we're going to continue to see e-commerce and last-minute ordering more than before. And I'm not talking about on the consumer side. I'm going to be talking from your retailers and from your own customers. Now, who's the searcher? Well, the searcher is someone looking for something very, very specific. And you can see a great example here, right? Mirrorless cameras, right? And they want kit lenses. They're looking for full frame. And so what you see is an opportunity of not only using the search bar, but actually beginning to refine that search within the left-hand search bar, so that we could look for specific manufacturers and specific sensors and other appropriate criteria. And what that does is it gets it down faster for the searcher to be able to find what they're looking for. So why do we want to do this, right? So here's the good news, right? This is what happens when you do better search for average websites, right? Now, here's the truth. B2B generally converts much higher than this, because they generally aren't doing as much comparison as consumers. But I don't have good data, because it's very customer specific and it's very industry specific. So I stuck here with more of a consumer side. So let me give you some specifics not on the slide about consumer websites. Consumer websites actually generally convert at 1%. Very, very good sites do 2 to 5%. So what is happening is speed, is one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later. Speed is what gets you from that 1% conversion to the 2% conversion to the 3% conversion. Why is speed so important, and why is search so important? If you think about it, simply doubling the number of people who come to your website, it's really hard, particularly in B2B. Acquiring customers is very expensive. But if you make an investment to simply convert the customers visiting your website as is, from say 3% to 5%, you have essentially doubled the effectiveness of your website. And you'll often see a revenue lift in the area of 20% from search. Now, what is that doing? That means you're capturing your other folks' business. We're going to talk about why it is that you're actually able to capture comparison buyers. So a good search solution is also going to collect some information. We're going to talk about that. Concrete data, right, about what of your products are more popular or less popular. A lot of people do not use search in this way. In other words, everyone knows what their best sellers are, but looking at the stuff that you don't have, or what are they searching in terms of, what are they searching for in terms of product selection that you don't have. So that's going to be the customers in terms of wishing what you sold. And if you think about that, if they're coming to your website and searching for those things, the likelihood is they thought about it from one of your competitors. And they're looking for a price comparison or a quote, or even potentially, right, in areas where inventory becomes a real bottleneck, then they're looking for alternate supply, or potentially to create multiple sources of supply because of various supply chain restrictions. right? As we begin to think as an industry about how do we actually do multiple sourcing, right? So much of our time previously has been about MFN pricing, about making sure that we understand how to buy most effectively and to really take advantage of quantity. How many folks actually wound up really critically hurt because of the supply chain interruption with China in particular? And for example, I live in Houston, Texas. The port of Houston virtually shut down. It's the number 3 largest port in America, and it of course wasn't able to receive a number of things, or that got slowed down because of a variety of reasons for COVID. So suddenly, alternate supply is becoming a very big thought process again. Now, this will take a while, but you can gain insight into what people are looking for based on what are they searching for on your site. Is there a way to introduce new products? Right. One of the things we had in a previous webinar a while ago was Trish Keller, and she mentioned that they really use product information data in order as part of their new product development process. Now, that's an interesting use of data by Citizen Watches. If there aren't enough searches and your inventory is rising, that is a leading indicator that there may have been a switch in the industry. So there's a lot of data we can grab from search, not just satisfying customer need. Okay, what are some of the marketing benefits? Well, if you're thinking about search, guess what they're searching for on Google? If they're searching on your website, they're searching on Google as well. They're searching for exactly what they're looking for. And doing SEO based on search, based on variable data, can be very, very difficult. It's not impossible, but of course it takes time. On the other hand, if you're seeing a growing search on your website, or reverse, if you're seeing search in Google for particular things around analytics, you will be able to more accurately target for income. The second thing is, how should you display, right? We're going to talk about that, and actually you're going to see a very good example in our case study that Tom will be talking about. You can also make sure to provide alternative suggestions, right? Wherever you have a blank, make sure you're providing an alternative. There are companies that do this very, very well, right? And one of the other things that we've talked about is syndication. So syndication is when I go out to the B2B marketplaces. So Amazon has a B2B marketplace, Alibaba has a B2B marketplace, even other specific industries have a B2B marketplace, right? Now, why does Amazon have such a huge advantage? And I can tell you it's actually because of their search capability. They don't actually sell or make, I should say, or stock almost any of the B2B things except office supplies. What they do is provide a very powerful search engine for people to actually find you. And if any of you have used Alibaba for your business, as I have, you know that finding things is not a competitive advantage of Alibaba. Their competitive advantage is selection. Now, wading through it to find it takes perseverance. Persona development is also the last piece, right? If you begin to attach search to your specific customers, you'll learn more about your customers. Now, I'm not going to take you down the rabbit trail of persona development because that is a completely separate and large topic all by itself. So what are some best practices, right? First of all, B2B websites are content heavy. If you're displaying 250,000 SKUs or a million SKUs or more, by definition, you are content heavy. The second thing is that B2B websites contain more attributes, more selection, more technical details than a retail site does. And therefore, again, it's content heavy. It also tends to have things like assemblies or kitting that a retail site would not. Search is really important. But how do you make sure people understand your search? Get that search box on every single page. And I prefer center. It can be on the right. The only thing is checkout page. I'm not going to talk about checkout today because, again, that's a science in and of itself. But never ever distract someone from buying something as they check out. I might give a teaser to another webinar, which is we're going to be talking about complex buying and complex buying solutions for B2B specifically, with an awesome case study being presented by a very large national distributor. Okay. The next thing is to actually place text in that search box to encourage searches. And you've probably seen this and you're going to see it. Putting in search text such as product name or search here or any of those kinds of things, typically in a masked back fashion, encourages people to type there. The only problem is don't make them delete that text. That should be automatically removed so that they can actually move forward with search immediately. Now, again, in B2B, you have a set of very experienced buyers. Those buyers may actually know your product codes. They may know UPC codes. They may have industry terms, and they may have brand or manufacturer terms. Therefore, search needs to encompass all of those kinds of things so that they can search the way they want to. Just like a retail brand, it's really about enabling your customer to find the things the way that they think about it. And that's why successful search for large and complex B2B websites allows you to very quickly hone in, filter, and describe, and then and get down to the set of products and comparisons that they're really looking for. And what that does is it really creates a much better user experience. Okay, now here's the problem, right? As we go through and we begin to do these things, 34% of the top 50 e-commerce sites. Now, that is the top 50 sites. They get the most volume and they get the most traffic, and they don't return useful results when there is a misspelling. Error tolerance for typos is hard to do, but really important. And if you think about it, Google does it really well, Amazon does it really well. So how do you do that for B2B? And so what I suggest is alternative spellings, obvious mistakes, and you can actually program these into your search parameters as part of understanding how do people think about it. Now, the next problem is, of course, acronyms aren't misspellings. These are typical things that you would want to make sure you have in your product descriptions so that your search can pick those up. So queries. Autocomplete gives people the ability to actually see what it is they're looking for as they type. It does two things. First of all, it makes you think the website is faster than it is. Speed is important, but being able to autocomplete on the fly creates a sense that the website is extremely fast and therefore makes them much more likely to remain on it. Specific queries allow you to also guide consumers into things that are probably the most relevant to what they want. And they know that as they continue to type, those autocompletes will change. So so start by presenting the most likely things, and they will self-refine into the deeper options if they're looking for something more specific than the popular ones. Showing potential matches, however, with your popular items gets people to those items faster, and it's probably, odds are, what they're looking for. Now, one other thing is begin to allow autocompletes and searches within either departments or product codes or manufacturers or particular items or groupings, right? So that they can better refine things. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the examples. But what you'll find is in highly complex, high SKU websites, someone knows that they're looking for a particular type of hardware. In the case of, say, MRO, they probably are as an intelligent buyer, which almost all your visitors will be, right? They're very driven to a specific answer. They'll be very willing to click left on hardware or begin the search and then refine by the type of hardware. And you need to be able to do both, right? So when someone's clicked on the left, you refine the search automatically. And if they've started by typing and then clicked on the left, you refine again. So what are the best practices, right? Using analytics will really help you begin to understand your search better. What are your top performing queries? What are your top performing products based strictly on clicks and traffic? So if you look at, and that is going to be necessarily separate from what your best selling products are, right? So if you're getting a top performing product based on clicks, but it's not one of your top revenue items, then you may want to look at the description or the information you're being provided. Does it compare as well or with enough information compared to your competitors, for example? Then also, what are your top performing products based on conversion, meaning they actually bought it? Make sure you do not have areas that are a no search result. The other thing you really want to begin to track is how many filters does it take someone to find something on your site? That's a good indicator of your free-form search, of your language-driven search, in terms of how good is it. So if people are using more than 5 filters, you've either got a huge catalog or you may really want to look at what is your search capability in your search bar. Now, one of the most important things is mobile. I worked with a major retail health foods and health improvement website out in Florida last year, and they were able to successfully merge their company with another large one that's one of the largest retailers in America. What they did is focus on mobile, right? Now, what's the number one change in demographics in B2B? And that is that millennials are becoming and driving the buyers, right? So often we sat at our desks, but as we become a more mobile workforce, and certainly as we're working from home, mobile has to become one of the key things that you begin to think about in terms of your B2B website. And so on mobile, right, the view may be limited to 1 or 2 products per screen, per look, right? On your laptop, that may have dozens of products. So you may be able to scroll through things very quickly. So what you really have to do is optimize differently on mobile than you do on anything in terms of a desktop experience. And what you'll find is that probably one of the most valuable things to do is called faceted search. Now, faceted search is a really fancy name for filters. So faceted search leads to a 20% increase in conversion rates on mobile, right? So if I can find the right set of filters or facets, right, that drive people on my B2B website. Often that might be manufacturer. It's often size and weight, quantity. Those kinds of things are at a minimum. But you have your own things that make sense to you and your customers in your B2B searches. Start thinking mobile. Now, oh, I forgot one thing. I mentioned app and PWA. I didn't cover that. So PWA, what is a PWA? That is a progressive web application. What that is a set of code that makes your browser look like, act like, and be as fast as an app. It tends to be more powerful than an app. Apps, however, are powerful when you need downloaded search. Now, not a lot of people need that, but often, since I'm here in Houston, oil or field-driven activities need apps because of connectivity. And that can be a competitive advantage because the speed is instantaneous, the data is downloaded to the tablet or phone, and it gives you a huge competitive advantage because people can find, look, get the information, compare it, size it, well out at, for example, an oil rig or a remote service location or somewhere in the middle of Texas that has pretty lousy cell service, which I seem to find all the time. You can use the app to solve that. PWAs take your website and turn it into a progressive web app that is extremely fast. In fact, it's near instant. What it does is it limits, on the other hand, the amount of information delivered at a time to the phone, but it will increase your speed dramatically. Let's see. So summary. Here we are. Sorting options. Extremely important to help your people find what they're looking for. Technical descriptions, having them in your website isn't only important in terms of as a picture. It really needs to be there in text so that your search bar can find it. Photos. Tagging your photos and supplying them with your search is important, not just for SEO typically, but because it actually will allow you to provide photos as they roll over pieces of search, which actually can be more useful than just the words themselves. Search users are far more likely to buy, and they are typically the majority of your revenue. This is why search really is the magic ROI. Once you're online, it's all about how do you convert. And that is, I think, the frontier we're really going to be talking about in 2021 as so many B2B companies are coming online. So I know we're going to have just a little bit of, I've used a lot of my allotted time, but I did want to make a free offer from eAllies, right? I have a crawling tool, right? It's automatic. I'm happy to give anyone who emails me a free assessment. Just send me your website and your contact info, and I'll email back you its automatic results, as well as some suggestions on your search speed strategies.